Well, there is a storm surge watch for Tampa Bay as well as a hurricane watch. Meteorologist Mike Seidel is live in Tampa, where getting prepared as soon as you can is key. Mike, of course, these ice storms for the Tampa area, it might feel a little reminiscent of last year for people getting prepared, but it's better to be prepared and not need it than to not be prepared.
Exactly, and they were prepping today. Grocery stores were packed and long gas lines, and we've got an issue with gas around here. Unfortunately, because of human error, gas that was offloaded at the port of Tampa was cross-contaminated with diesel. So any station that received that gas via Citgo after 10 a.m. yesterday morning could be cross-contaminated. The Department of Agriculture has told those stations to shut down, get that bad gas out of there, clean things up, and they'll give them permission and certainly certify them to reopen. Citgo has not released a list of those stations. As Felicia mentioned, hurricane watch, storm surge watch. The storm surge here in the Tampa Bay area right now is forecast to 3 to 5 feet. Know your evacuation zone. It all depends on track, intensity, and the size of the storm. At this point, we don't expect the eye, based on the forecast, almost 3 days out, to come right at Tampa Bay from the southwest. That would be the worst possible scenario. But the storm surge forecast is up to 11 feet up in the Big Bend of Florida. That's the concave shape that Dr. Nab talked about, and that's where the water's going to get pushed up there. You get farther away, 3 to 5 feet here, and 2 to 4 feet south of here in Port Charlotte and the Charlotte Harbor area. Meanwhile, EMA from Florida is on top of this, and we talked to them earlier today.
Moving forward, we'll be working on the things that we normally do, which is prepare for evacuations, prepare for feeding if we need to do that, prepare for the debris removal on counties and city streets. So those are the things that we're doing right now. But more importantly, we need people at home to start doing their preparation today and get ready to heed the evacuation warnings if they do come down from the local emergency managers.
And the impacts here will start arriving late Tuesday. Wednesday is the worst day by far. That's when we expect landfall. In the short term, we have a marine warning here across a lot of Tampa Bay. Big storms coming in across the bay. You can see the white caps. The wind now whipping up 25 to 30 miles an hour. So that is certainly, Felicia, going to be in the short term. Nothing to do with the tropical storm, but in the short term, we may run for cover because of a lot of lightning, and we'll certainly run to safety. We'll keep you updated from Tampa. We've got plenty of time to prepare and watch Idalia as it moves in to the Gulf of Mexico tomorrow and Tuesday.
Well, let's check back in with meteorologist Mike Seidel. He's live in Tampa with details on what we can expect in the area this week. Mike, how's it been there talking to people getting ready for this storm?
Well, I can tell you in the short term, we're dealing with these severe thunderstorms, and they're a godsend for two reasons. First, Tampa had a record high today of 96, awfully hot. This has really cooled things down by about 20 degrees. Secondly, they're in a horrible drought here. They are down 14.5 inches of rainfall, which brings me to the next subject, impacts from Idalia. Let's show you the rainfall forecast at this point on Sunday evening with a projected landfall coming in sometime Wednesday morning, and we're expecting 2 to 4 inches across the Tampa Bay area. And they can handle that because it has been so dry. I mentioned a huge deficit. They've only had about 60% of the rainfall to date, unlike the southwest coast. So the rainfall should not be an issue. There may be some short-term flash flooding in the urban areas, but I think the biggest concern will be what kind of wind we end up with and what kind of surge we end up with. Right now, we're in the storm surge watch, the Tampa Bay area 3 to 5 feet above normally high ground. That will change, could go up, could go down based on the size, intensity, and the track as we see the Hurricane Center fine-tune that forecast in the next day or so once it starts moving north Monday into Tuesday. We've got continuing coverage through this evening on the Weather Channel. More expert analysis from Dr. Rick Nab. Stay with us today, tonight, and tomorrow.
There's a storm surge watch for Tampa Bay as well as a hurricane watch. We've got meteorologist Mike Seidel. He's there in Tampa where people are gearing up, Mike, as we're watching Idalia closely.
Yes, and they're trying to buy gas today. We've seen the gas lines. People are worried about this, even though it's not going to get here till Tuesday night and Wednesday. So, if you face a long gas line, maybe try later this evening or tomorrow morning, because once everybody gets filled up, the line should shorten down. Here's the deal with the gas. Unfortunately, there was some human error at the port of Tampa, and after 10 a.m. Saturday, if you bought gas at several stations, more than several stations on the west coast of Florida, between about Naples and Chiefland, including the Tampa Bay area, it may be cross-contaminated with diesel. Now, the Department of Agriculture just reached out to me. I posted their statement and the list of stations, so you can look at those stations, where they are, and see if you bought that gas and what you can do, because that can really foul up your engine. So it's on my social, Twitter, and also Facebook. You can find that, and it's got the list of stations, about 25 or 30 stations. Not every station, but I want you to be aware of what happened. Meanwhile, back here, quick update on the severe weather. Warnings have dropped. We had a marine warning. We still have some leftover rain. But you can see on the radar, everything is moving out over the Gulf of Mexico. Big change in temperature, 96. Record high here today, now 77. Much, much better. The state of Florida, certainly ready for this. And, you know, there are a lot of tourists here, even though it is the rainy season. It's finally raining here in Tampa, which is under a significant drought. They talked to us earlier about what tourists should be looking out for, what they should do in advance of what could be, likely be, Hurricane Idalia.
Go to floridadisaster.org/know, KNOW. And that is going to let people know exactly what they need to know for this particular storm. You bring up tourists, and I'm glad you do. This is one of those things. You'll be fine in Florida today, tomorrow, but you're going to want to go ahead and get out of harm's way if you're in the northern Panhandle, northern Big Bend area, and start, maybe heading back home, or maybe you go over to our east coast of Florida and enjoy the sunshine that they're going to experience throughout this next week.
Well, that's a great idea. Head to the East Coast, where they won't have any real impacts from this particular system, especially from the Space Coast south to Miami, where they've had a lot of rain. Here we're running a deficit of 14.5 inches, so with a forecast of 3 or 4 inches of rain with this current track and timing, we're not expecting any major impacts from flooding. There will be some localized flash flooding. Our concern is surge and how much wind do we get from those bands. And how much power do we lose Tuesday night and Wednesday? Stay tuned for the latest forecast updates. Next advisory, full advisory, 11 p.m. tonight Eastern Time.
All right, well, we do have our own Mike Seidel. We want to check back in with him. He's live in Tampa with the details on what we can expect through the area this week. Mike, you were talking about just how warm those waters are of the Gulf are, and we know that's a big component in the forecasted intensity of this storm.
Yes, indeed. We're going to see how fast it strengthens as it gets closer to us. That's the big concern: intensity, size, and track. Meanwhile, the folks over at the Tampa General Hospital are getting ready. They have staged what they call their aqua fence. Take a look at this. Now, this is video from last year when they put it up during Ian. Remember that last September? Who can forget Ian? So what they do is they put it up, they protect it against storm surge, and that keeps the hospital open and operational, so they have it staged and ready to install if needed. And I suspect they'll eventually put that up probably sometime tomorrow around the hospital, Tampa General. Meanwhile, the sun is back out. The storms have moved out as we head into a warm, humid evening here in the Tampa Bay area. Storm surge watch, 3 to 5 feet in the Bay Area. Also a hurricane watch. The worst of the weather arriving later Tuesday and Tuesday night. We will keep you updated here at the Weather Channel, so stay with us.
One place that is in the cone, though, and has a storm surge watch, that's Tampa Bay. Also a hurricane watch. We've got our own meteorologist, Mike Seidel. You're there in Tampa where people are starting to get prepared. Mike, I know one of the main things people start to worry about when you're talking about a tropical system in Florida is getting gas and being prepared for that.
Yes, and one of the issues today has been the fact that we found out that, unfortunately, there was a human error at the Tampa port, and diesel gasoline has now made it into the unleaded tanks of gas stations across parts of western Florida, from Chiefland down to Naples, including the Tampa Bay area. So it's been contaminated, and the Department of Agriculture is all over this. In fact, I posted their statement and the list of stations on my Twitter and Facebook on social media. If you can't find it online, I've got it there. It lists all the stations. This is occurring after 10 a.m. Saturday. So if you got gas at these stations or anywhere before Saturday morning at 10 a.m., you're okay. Otherwise, you could be in trouble, and they list what you can do moving forward. This is not good news at a time when we're heading towards what could be a hurricane, maybe not a direct hit here, but certainly getting close enough to cause significant impacts. We are under a storm surge watch right now. The forecast is 3 to 5 feet above normally high ground in the Tampa Bay area, and that means different things to different locations. You have to check online, check your hurricane evacuation zone, because if there are going to be evacuations, we're going to start hearing about them sometime later on Monday. Meantime, they're concerned and they're getting ready here across the state of Florida.
Moving forward, we'll be working on the things that we normally do, which is prepare for evacuations, prepare for feeding if we need to do that, prepare for the debris removal on counties and city streets. So those are the things that we're doing right now. But more importantly, we need people at home to start doing their preparation today and get ready to heed the evacuation warnings if they do come down from the local emergency managers.
And we'll be here for you at the Weather Channel. The next hurricane advisory, full advisory, comes up just before 11 p.m. Eastern tonight. We'll be live on the Weather Channel until midnight. Then we start extended storm coverage, live programming tomorrow morning bright and early, and then right on through late tomorrow night and again on Tuesday. We'll keep you updated. But again, you can tune to us throughout tomorrow evening, even late tomorrow night to get the latest on this ever-changing situation. Nothing is etched in stone. As Dr. Nab mentioned, we could be dealing with a major hurricane at landfall on Wednesday. We've got a long way to go, a lot of warm water, and plenty of time, fortunately, to get that hurricane plan in place and prepare for the worst. Stay with the Weather Channel.
Check it back in with meteorologist Mike Seidel. He's live in Tampa with details on what we can expect in the area this week. Mike, of course, Tampa under a storm surge watch right now, under a hurricane watch. And as that forecast gets refined, we'll have a better idea for what it's going to mean for that major metro area.
Exactly. It's all about the intensity, the track, and the size of the storm and how close it gets to Tampa. Again, right now, the best track forecast from all the models and the Hurricane Center takes it off the coast west of us and then arcs it into the Big Bend. That could change between now and late Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. But ahead of that, last year, look at this. Tampa General Hospital put up their aqua fence. And this is a video from last year before Ian. So far, they have staged the aqua fence ahead of Idalia, and I would suspect now with the storm surge watch, which will go to a warning at some point, they'll start putting that together. I wouldn't be surprised if they do that sometime on Monday. A lot ahead. Certainly, where are the evacuations going to be? When do they start? Luckily, we're at Sunday, and landfall's not till Wednesday, so prep time is certainly premium right now. Get your hurricane plan in place and stay with the Weather Channel.
For that, we turn to meteorologist Mike Seidel, who is live in Tampa, where, Mike, yes, storm surge, heavy rain, strong winds, all possible this week. What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Yeah, that's the big question, though, is the magnitude of these items, these impacts. How strong will the winds be? Will they be gusting 60, 70 miles an hour, knocking out power? How about the surge? Right now, we've got the storm surge watch for Tampa Bay, 3 to 5 feet. Will it be higher or lower? You know, it's all determined by the intensity of the storm and the exact track, certainly in the size of it. But as we've been talking about, until we get into later tomorrow and tomorrow night, we're not going to really know because it's not moving now. We'll see how the models do with it. But again, some of the hurricane intensity models, a couple of them do bring it up to a minimal Cat 3, which is a major hurricane. The other thing on people's minds, what about evacuations up and down the coast? That's the big question. We talked earlier to the folks at the emergency management offices about what they're thinking and what you should do.
Moving forward, we'll be working on the things that we normally do, which is prepare for evacuations, prepare for feeding if we need to do that, prepare for the debris removal on counties and city streets. So those are the things that we're doing right now. But more importantly, we need people at home to start doing their preparation today and get ready to heed the evacuation warnings if they do come down from the local emergency managers.
We should have some word certainly during the day on Monday. I talked to a teacher inside the restaurant, and she was wondering if school's going to be open on Wednesday. I said, highly unlikely here in the Tampa Bay area. She also told me some of the schools are used as evacuation shelters. So if that's the case, they'll be closed Wednesday, then an additional day on Thursday. So that's all going to be fine-tuned as we get closer to the movement up through the Gulf and towards landfall, Chris Warren. Right now, though, it's very, very quiet here. As they say, the The calm before the storm right now here in Tampa Bay, but a lot ahead and a lot to watch in the next day or so.
All right, meteorologist Mike Seidel, we'll get back to you in a moment. I'm going to turn right now to meteorologist Mike Seidel. He is in the southwest part of Florida. And Mike, just a couple days away now. What's the latest there in Tampa?
Everybody's watching and waiting like we are to see what Idalia does as far as intensity and track. Right now, the model's locking in on a track that keeps us offshore, but we're still 2.5 days away. So we got a long way to go to watch Idalia. It is forecast to become a hurricane. We have the storm surge watch underway, the hurricane watch for the Tampa Bay area. And as you can imagine, all of the folks involved with Florida emergency management are on guard and watching it too.
Go to floridadisaster.org/know, KNOW, and that is going to let people know exactly what they need to know for this particular storm. You bring up tourists, and I'm glad you do. This is one of those things you'll be fine in Florida today, tomorrow, but you're going to want to go ahead and get out of harm's way if you're in the northern Panhandle, northern Big Bend area, and start, maybe heading back home, or maybe you go over to our east coast of Florida and enjoy the sunshine that they're going to experience throughout this next week.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. This is not an East Coast storm like so many have been in recent years. This is a west coast of Florida, Gulf Coast, and the Big Bend area. Not so much a panhandle storm either, if you're considering, say, from Panama City off to the west. So, Chris, the anticipation grows, the mystery grows. How strong does it get? How big does it get? And how close does it get here in Tampa?
All right, meteorologist Mike Seidel.